Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. We're going to go through some of the ways that we can change your draw weight, draw length, and the sights on your brand new Envoy bow. We're in the shop, so it might be a little busy, so bear with us through some of the noise. We're going to take good care of you as we walk you through this process. Okay, the first thing we're going to do today is teach you how to adjust your draw length on the new bow. For starters, you should find out your draw length. So take your height in inches and divide it by 2.5. A good example is here, my daughter is 59 inches tall, so when we take her that by 2.5, we get to about 23.5 inches, which is what I'm going to set this bow to for starters. Be sure to check the draw length adjustment chart on our website. It's going to give you an idea of where to set the bow from there. In order to understand the draw length adjustment chart, you're going to need to know some of the vocabulary that goes along with this bow. First of all, it comes equipped with a module that you can slide to change the draw length, as well as 2 bolt holes that you can screw that into. Bolt hole 1 is furthest away from the cable, and bolt hole 2 is the one nearest the cable. It also has 2 pegs that we can change the cable with. Peg 1 again will be furthest away from the cable. Peg 2 will be the one that's closest to the cable. After examining the draw length chart on the web page, knowing that my daughter is shooting 23.5 inch draw, I'm going to set this to number 5. You can take the module and slide it to that point, and you'll notice individual number markings at each hole. You're always going to be screwing into bolt hole number 1, which is again the one furthest away from the cable here. I'm going to slide my module to point number 5, and I'm going to take a 1/8 inch Allen head to screw that in. We want to make sure it's nice and tight, but you don't need to over tighten it to where you could possibly strip the head. Just like so. Always do what you do to the top to the bottom. In this instance, I've already got it set at number 5 on the bottom cam here. Make sure we always make these adjustments together. If you adjust the draw length on one end, always adjust it on the other end. The formula used to find your draw length earlier, taking your height in inches and dividing by 2.5, is not a perfect formula. Sometimes you may have to wiggle this forward or backwards an inch, just by taking that bolt out and moving the module one way or the other to give yourself an extra inch or take an inch away. But this is a good starting point to figure out where you're at. If you have a longer draw, like 30 inches or 31 inches, you may find that you have to take this module and slide it all the way to 11. In order to do that, you're going to take the bolt out of the bolt hole number 1, and move your module so that the number 10 is actually lined up with bolt hole number 2. In doing so, you crank that thing all the way to 11. Again, we're just going to snug that bolt down without being too tight, and we want to make sure that whatever we do to the bottom cam, we also do to the top cam. This is going to keep our timing in place so that our arrow is always exiting the bow perfectly. And again, you'll see we're going to slide this all the way down to where the number 10 actually corresponds to bolt hole number 2, and tighten that back down. This is going to give us our longest draw here. With the cable being wrapped around peg 1 and our module being at number 11, you're going to get your very longest draw possible with your new bow. On this module, each one of these numbers corresponds to about an inch change in draw length. However, if you're looking to micro-tune that a little bit more, you can take the cable off of peg 1 and place it onto peg 2, and you can get about a 1/4 inch difference in some of those draw lengths. However, I'd only recommend doing that with a bow press, or just take it into your local dealer shop and they can take care of you from there. Next, let's talk about how to adjust your sights. With every compound bow, you're going to notice that there's at least 3 major adjustments that can be made. You can adjust your entire housing up or down, left or right, and of course you can adjust the pins individually. To adjust the housing up and down and left and right, you'll notice that you'll take a 7/64 Allen wrench, and there's a corresponding screw both in the side here and also in the bottom here. In order to move the side up and down, you're going to use the Allen wrench on the side and loosen that up. That's going to cause the entire housing on the front of your sight here to be able to move freely up and down along that bar. When you're moving your sight, you always want to follow your group. So if your arrows are hitting low on the target, make sure to take that sight down just a little bit. If you're hitting high on the target, go ahead and take it up. Same thing with right and left. If your arrows are hitting right, then take that whole component, loosen that screw on the bottom, and slide that sight to the right, or slide it back to the left if your arrows are hitting left. Always make sure that when you're adjusting your sight, you do small adjustments. You never want to get so crazy that you end up passing the point that you're the target. There's lines on each of the sights so that you can make very small adjustments and know right where you're at. Based upon the different weight that you have your bow set to, your arrow is going to be moving faster or slower off the bow, which means it's going to actually drop quicker or slower depending on it whether you have a higher powered bow or a lower powered bow. In order to adjust for that, we need to adjust each individual pin. Most people use these 5 pins as a 20-yard pin, a 30, 40, 50, and 60-yard pin. However, you can customize that however you'd like. You'll find on the back side of the sight housing that there's some Allen wrench heads that match up with a 3/32 Allen wrench. Right there. What I usually do on my sights is I take that 20-yard pin and loosen it up and move it all the way to the top for starters. That's going to give me a lot of opportunity to move the rest of the pins and put them in place depending on where I'm hitting as I go out and sight in my bow. As with every adjustment that you make, we recommend that you don't over tighten any of these screws, especially on your sight, as this is small fiber optic components that could damage easily if you put too much strain on them. Just go ahead and take it, snug it down, and then leave it where it is. From there, you're going to have your 20-yard pin set. You'll adjust your housing until you're hitting the bullseye with 20 yards, and then you'll start moving back from 30, 40, 50, and 60 yards and adjusting each pin accordingly. The final adjustment we're going to make today is going to be changing the draw weight, which is going to give you more power or less power depending on what you're able to pull. Never try to pull a bow back that you can't pull. If it's too heavy, take the weight down. This is a very adjustable bow. You can take it all the way down to about 10 pounds, allowing even your 3 or 4-year-olds to be able to shoot this bow, all the way up to a seasoned bow hunter that's taken down elk at 70 pounds. The way you're going to make that adjustment is in the limb pockets. You're going to need a 3/16 Allen wrench, and you'll notice the screw holes right on the end there. If you take your Allen wrench in, every time you put one turn of rotate and tighten it, that's going to add a little bit of weight to your bow, making the pull a little bit tougher. In order to actually adjust the draw weight, you're going to need a 3/16 Allen wrench, and you'll notice the bolt holes on the end of the limbs here. In order to do that, you're just going to take the Allen wrench and stick it in, and for more weight, you're going to tighten that bolt down. As you do that, you may notice the markings on the edge of the limbs here are getting closer to the limb pockets themselves. This is a great ability for you to measure where you're at on one limb, because remember, you always want to do the same to the top limb as what you do to the bottom limb. You'll notice that we have it on the 4th mark there, and so I'm going to take my bottom limb and adjust that the same way. There we go. That gives us an even top and bottom limb, making sure that our arrow is coming off clean and we have a good shot all the way through the process. I also want you to take a look at these marks and notice that we never recommend taking it out past that last mark. Going out past that could cause the screw to come loose when you pull the bow back. Make sure that that's your stopping point at the very bottom of your draw weight. You can also, from that bottom mark to the top mark, is 8 full turns on the limb. So if you start at noon and you turn it all the way around, you're going to get 8 full turns there to make sure that you get it from the very tightest point it can be on the limb to the very bottom point on the limb. I want to encourage you again to go onto our adjustment chart on the webpage and see that on each draw length you have an available weight range. It's going to give you the very bottom of that range and the top of that range at each marking. Okay, now that my bow fits like a glove and I've got my daughter's bow all set up, we're going to hit the range. If you have any more questions, check out our adjustment chart on the webpage, or look at the Contact Us section and call Aaron in the Pro Shop. I'll take good care of you.